Here are 25 facts about Poppy that you might not know about. 1. In the games, she's about 2 feet 6 inches tall with a porcelain body, blue dress, and red pigtails, which makes her the same exact size as your average 1-year-old. 2. Poppy was not just an innovative toy, she was advertised as the world's most incredible doll that could truly talk to you and was intelligent. 3. Although we do have a note talking about another experiment in the 800s before the Bigger Bodies initiative, Poppy seems to be the only toy we know who was created before the initiative. And the reason I don't include the prototype is because Poppy called him the original, yet she was created before him, meaning he was the first of the Bigger Bodies.
They didn't act alone. They're disciples of the original, the prototype.
4. In the Untitled tape, we hear Poppy say that she misses her dad who used to run Playtime Co., meaning Elliot Ludwig was Poppy's father. And what even further supports this is the fact that Elliot Ludwig's office is right next to where her case is. 5. Because Poppy is about the size of a 1-year-old and we know it was only later that Harley and the other scientists were able to create bigger bodies, Poppy has to be Elliot Ludwig's daughter, who passed away at the age of 1 and was later brought back to life. And the only thing that can disprove this is if Poppy was miraculously given a bigger or smaller body before they even knew how to do that. 6. Poppy knew the hour of joy was coming. In the Untitled tape, she talks about the bodies and what happened during the massacre. However, when we find her in chapter 1, she tells us in chapter 2 that she was stuck in that case for a very long time, which we later assumed was before the hour of joy. But now Harley and even Poppy herself have said that she knew it was gonna happen.
Poppy told you her story, of course. Innocence is bliss, and she is oh so innocent. Did she tell you her part of the hour of joy? That she knew it was coming? Or did she leave out that crucial detail?
7. Poppy and Kissy have a deep relationship with each other. In chapter 3, when Kissy tackles us, Poppy tells her to stop and then just hops on Kissy's shoulder like it's your average Tuesday. And when Poppy runs to save herself during the prototype call, Kissy's body almost goes limp, showing just how much Poppy meant to her. 8. Poppy and Stella share the same voice actor. The voice actress Noah Klopp voices both Poppy and Stella, which led to fans believing that there could be a connection between them. But this later was debunked in chapter 2 when we heard Stella mention Mommy Longlegs, who was created after Poppy. 9. The Poppy toy was sold for $5.99. Now this might not sound like a lot when you factor in inflation. Poppy costs about $80 whole, making her a very expensive toy but yet still successful. 10. Poppy got hurt by the train accident. In the end of chapter 2, Poppy forces us to stay in the factory by switching the tracks on us, which eventually caused the train to crash. In chapter 3, we then see that she has a small crack on her right cheek, and she hints to this being from the train crash, as she said that the train crash hurt both her and us. 11. Poppy's eyes are continually getting more red. In chapter 1, when we found Poppy in her case, she looked as normal as a sentient toy can be, but after each chapter, her eyes are getting more and more red, leading to speculation on whether she has some kind of illness or she could even be slowly dying. 12. Poppy used to be Safe Haven's leader before Doey. In chapter 4, Doey seems to be the one in charge of Safe Haven, but in one of the last tapes, Doey talks about how Poppy used to tell them what to do, but that she eventually left them, which forced Doey to assume the role as leader because the other toys needed someone to guide them.
The others, they look to me to know what to do, to know where to go. For a long while, we had Poppy to tell us, go here, go there, do this. And it all made sense, too. Poppy was nice. I can't find Poppy anywhere. I don't know what happened or where she went. But it's scary here without her. Maybe she ran, just like I have.
13. Poppy was Playtime Co.'s most popular toy for 34 consecutive years. Although she was expensive, it seems like children across the world loved Poppy and her ability to talk to them, which led to her being the most popular toy that Playtime Co. had, giving them their big break and establishing them as a trusted toy company. 14. When we opened Poppy's case in Chapter 1, something knocked us out. In Chapter 1, when we open her case, the lights flicker with Poppy saying, "You opened my case." But then in Chapter 2, during the Mommy Longlegs commercial, Poppy whispers to us, telling us to wake up, and when Chapter 2 starts, we don't even see Poppy anymore, meaning something must have happened to us between Chapters 1 and 2. 15. Poppy shouldn't have survived the safe haven attack. And I will say this till the day I die, bro. Once we defeat the doctor, Poppy tells us to meet back in safe haven after we plant the bombs. But before we make it back, safe haven exploded, but yet we eventually find her and Kissy in a vent, somehow still alive. 16. The prototype was manipulating Poppy even before the hour of joy. In the Ollie tape, we hear Poppy crying and Ollie trying to comfort her, where he says, "I'm here, Poppy. For you, I'll always be here." But in the ventilation block, Poppy asks what the prototype did with Ollie, where he then says the exact same line from the VHS tape to either intimidate her, prove to her that he was the prototype the whole time, or even both.
What did you do with Ollie?
I'm right here, Poppy. For you. I'll always be here.
17. The prototype was also the one who put Poppy in the case in the first place. In the Chapter 4 phone call, the prototype threatened Poppy with being put in a new case that she'll never want to leave, which led to her running away, which means that the prototype was the one to put her into the first case. 18. Poppy spent a lot of time free roaming in the factory. When we first meet her in Chapter 2, she climbs around the vents like it's nothing and guides us to the slide that leads to the game station, which means she either learned this before the hour of joy and the employees allowed her to do this, or after the hour of joy she could have been outside of her case for a lot longer than we thought. 19. During developments, Poppy's name was Tina Toytime, which is weird because I cannot imagine playing the game if it was called Tina Toytime. 20. Poppy and the prototype have a close relationship. Even though Poppy is deathly afraid of him, the prototype is willing to kill pretty much everyone except Poppy and only threatens to put her back into a case. Yet with Catnap, who literally worshipped him, he killed him in literally a second. 21. The reason that Poppy was trying to give us the train code in Chapter 2 was to pay us back for freeing her from her case. Pretty much right after freeing her, she tells us that she's gonna help us get out of the factory. But because of what happened with us killing Mommy Longlegs, she changed her mind and forced us to stay by switching the tracks. 22. Poppy's plan involved the death of everyone except her. When Poppy gives us the plan to blow up the entire factory, she says that once we freed the orphans, then we're gonna leave with them and Kissy, and the safe haven toys will be the ones to blow up the factory, which seems to be the exact reason that Doey was hesitant with her plan. 23. Poppy has dodged 2 separate explosions. Like I said earlier, she should have died in the safe haven attack, but yet we found her in the ventilation block. But then in the ventilation block, she manages to run out right before the bombs go off, which leads me to believe that Poppy could potentially be working with the prototype and we just don't know for sure yet. 24. Poppy didn't just leave us behind in chapter 4, but also in chapter 3. Since we know that Poppy was with us in the train when it crashed, she had to have avoided Catnap, who we saw dragging us to a trash compactor in the beginning of chapter 3. And we only end up regrouping with her when Kissy tackled us in Playcare. But it's also possible that she still passed out or knew she couldn't do anything against Catnap. 25. Someone in the factory did not want us to find Poppy. When we make it just outside where she was kept in chapter 1, we find several warnings written on the wall next to the door, warning us not to go inside, but we still don't know who wrote them. But what do you guys think? Let me know down in the comments. Thanks for watching, subscribe, and click on this video right here.